Joining me now to further discuss, CNN political commentator and former South Carolina State Representative Bakari Sellers and former advisor to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Scott Jennings. Why do I feel like this is going to be a lively discussion? I just feel it. I don't know. Something about having you both on a Sunday. Bakari, I'm going to start with you because you made some news. You said the White House has essentially set the vice president up for failure with her assignments that she has been given. Let's listen to what you had to say.
Her portfolio is trash. I mean, her portfolio is just, you give someone a portfolio that's not meant for them to succeed.
But she has immigration as a woman of color.
You give somebody a portfolio. We cannot forget that this is one of the most difficult and complicated issues. Should she get it? Okay, on her plate? Sure, okay, that's fine. But you give her that, and then you give her voting rights. Those are the two main issues on her plate. But then you don't come out forcefully in abolishing the filibuster. So how's she supposed to do that?
Right, and look, immigration is a tough issue. There is no doubt about it. But why is it an unfair assignment for a former senator from a border state to take on immigration as part of her portfolio?
I didn't say the assignment was unfair, but what I did say in the full context, and I think I fleshed it out clearly there, was that you have to have the White House pushing for those things that are necessary to pass legislation around that issue. Whether or not it's immigration or voting rights, which was my main thrust, the President of the United States has to be forceful in reforming, narrowing, limiting the filibuster on issues such as immigration, on issues such as voting rights, etc. Without that, then it's a moot point. And yes, she's done diligent work. I mean, she spoke out on the Haitians that were being whipped or corralled at the border. You know, she's done diligent work in bringing groups to the White House and the Naval Observatory and talking about voting rights. But that's not my point. My point is, until we actually get rid of the obstructionists, until we actually limit the power of Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, until we actually put Kamala Harris and Joe Biden on the road to talk about their agenda, not just one trip to Detroit and one trip to New Jersey, but actually put them on the road, had them calling into radio every day. She called into Ryan Cameron last week, great move, but we have to see that every single day. This is my main problem, and this is a critique that Scott probably doesn't have to say much for. He can just say amen. My main problem is this. When Democrats win elections, we stop campaigning. Donald Trump won an election, and regardless of whether or not you think he was promulgating hate or an agenda or whatever it may be, but he was on the road all the time. Democrats win elections and stop campaigning and stop communicating their ideas, and that's the frustration we have.
I'm going to get to you in just a second, Scott, I promise. Maybe it won't be as lively as I thought it would be if you're both going to agree. But you're talking about being on the road. I do want to get your response to this, Bakari. And again, I promise you, Scott, I'm going to get to you. But I recently interviewed Congressman Henry Cuellar, a Democrat, who was critical of the vice president's response to the border crisis when I spoke to him just a few weeks ago. And I want to get your response on the other side of this.
You know, sometimes all you need to do is just show up. Show, either the immigrants or the Border Patrol or the border communities, which is something I feel that the administration has left out, the border communities, the mayors, the county judges. Even if she just shows up and does what Bill Clinton used to say, I feel your pain, just show up. I mean, I think that would probably send a strong message.
So I know what you were saying earlier about her basically being hamstrung because the president isn't doing enough on the issues in her portfolio, but is she showing up enough on immigration, Bakari?
Well, let me just say that one of the things I want the vice president and the president to succeed. You won't find anybody who's more adamant about their love and support for Kamala Harris than myself. I love her and her entire family. And so this constructive criticism, actually, I'm not sure the inner workings of the White House. That's how I will answer the question. I'm not sure if she's not showing up or she's not allowed to show up. But I think that Kamala Harris needs to be everywhere all the time. She is somebody who can go out and get support for whether or not it's your agenda on Build Back Better or whether or not it's going to the border talking about these issues. She's extremely talented, and as you said earlier, she led the second largest Department of Justice in the country, second only to the United States. She's senator from a border state. Let her go do her thing. I mean, that is my response. And so, yeah, I somewhat agree, although I'm not sure that criticism should land in the Naval Observatory.
So what do you think, Scott? I mean, look, the Trump administration struggled to control the southern border as well. I think it was 2019. There were record numbers, the highest in a dozen years, I believe it. I mean, is this issue just a minefield for whoever is in power?
Well, it's been a minefield for a long time. I do think it's gotten worse since Biden and Harris have taken over. And I think that they've clearly communicated different policy priorities, specifically around border security and border barriers, than the previous administration had. The problem with Bakari's idea, which, by the way, I'm a PR guy too. You know, I think, you know, my first reaction is let's go do some PR. But some things you can't PR your way out of it. And this is not one of those. This is really more about policy choices than PR. And the problem with an issue like this being on Kamala Harris's plate is that she's dealing with daily images from the border. So when it's happening, like not, you know, in the halls of Congress where you can't exactly see inside, but rather happening on your television screen every night. We can see the drone footage. We see the people coming across. We see the camps. We see the people in cages, if you will. Then, you know, it doesn't, no matter how much PR you do, it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. And so I would respectfully to Bakari, who I know reveres and loves Kamala Harris, say there's some PR that could be done, but they're going to have to grapple with the policy choices that I think the American people, frankly, are pretty unhappy with right now. I mean, if you, as you pointed out, Pam, the numbers in the Quinnipiac survey on immigration are just atrocious. And it's because of what people are seeing and because I think they're reacting negatively to the policy choices that have been made.
All right, so let's talk about what's going on in the Republican Party here, Scott. Before we let you go, I got to ask you about this. A top Republican in the House, Steve Scalise, went on Fox this morning and wouldn't say if he believes Biden won the 2020 election legitimately. Let's listen.
At the end of the day, are we going to follow what the Constitution says or not? I hope we get back to what the Constitution says, but clearly in a number of states, they didn't follow those legislatively set
rules. So you think the
rules.
election was stolen?
What I said is there are states that didn't follow their legislatively set rules. That's what the United States Constitution says.
Last time, I promise, do you think the election was stolen or not? I understand you think there were irregularities and things that need to be fixed. Do you think the election was stolen?
Yeah. And it's not just irregular. It's states that did not follow the laws set, which the Constitution says they're supposed to follow.
Gotta take a deep breath because hearing that makes my blood boil. All of these issues have been litigated in court, as we know. Why are top Republicans still misleading Americans on this, Scott? Why is this still happening in your party?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious because if you listen to what Donald Trump had to say in Iowa this weekend, you know, he sort of gave two speeches. One was the speech that the Republicans wanted him to give, and one was the speech that he wanted to give, and it's all about relitigating the 2020 election, which he believes was stolen. And these Republicans, like Steve Scalise, don't, you know, they don't want to anger Donald Trump, and they feel like when they're in the leadership positions that they're in, that it puts them personally, politically in danger to get on the wrong side of him on this topic. And so it's pretty obvious why they answer the questions the way they do. I think most people know in their hearts that even if there were irregularities and issues that need to be looked into, that Joe Biden won the election. And to say that out loud doesn't mean you like Joe Biden. It doesn't mean you like his policies, and it doesn't mean, you know, you're a bad Republican. It just means, okay, we lost that one, and what can we do better to win next time is all it really means to me. So it's just disheartening, but I think you're going to continue to see it for the foreseeable future.
Pam.
Well, and go ahead, Bakari, and then we gotta go. Go ahead.
Just briefly, I think that the two segments or the two portions of the segments today display the parties in this country. We had a substantive segment on how we deal with passing infrastructure and dealing with immigration, and then you have the Republican Party that's talking about Donald Trump's dream that he still won the election. And so those are the two different issues we have, and even with my disagreements and constructive criticism, I think I'd much rather be a Democrat today.
All right, we do have to leave it there. We're out of time. Scott Jennings, Bakari
have you not seen the latest poll? Have you not seen the latest poll numbers? Are you sure you want to be a Democrat today?